now that, but now that you have talked about general theory of relativity, and I do agree with you that everyone should know what general theory of relativity is. I myself have tried to understand it. Never went into the mathematics of it though. But now that we have an expert who's actually studying it a lot closely, can you explain to us what that means? First, let's start with layman terms, and then obviously we'll go deep inside
So obviously, one big clarification.
it.
Most certainly, I'm not an expert in this. I am
Okay.
barely a student and hardly not even good at that. But from what I understand, so I should. So the reason I feel like everybody should be able to understand general theory is that, like you said, you don't need to go to extreme amount of mathematical scrutiny about. Oh, I need to understand tensor calculus. I need to understand all that. You will need a very cursory knowledge of that to understand the very basic, basic predictions of general theory. And I think that's at least good enough to at least let people understand a better give them a better feeling of the subject.
Hmm.
So, which would bring me to the layman description of the theory. The general theory is called the general theory because it's supposed to describe um, everything. It's supposed to describe all interactions of matter, energy, and the space and time. And by that, what we mean is it should describe what is gravity, basically. It should let us know what is gravity? Is it a force? Can it be thought of in any other way? And how do we manipulate it? And how do things manipulate gravity? And so I guess I can't give a tutorial on the general theory, but I can tell you some of the interesting results
Yeah, yeah.
I think we can understand. One of the interesting results we can understand is that the general theory of relativity tells us from, well, a portion of the general theory which deals with something called the equivalence principle. There are two types of equivalence principles, but anyway, the result is that we can think of gravity as a force that is exerted on an object. Like I can be sitting in a room which has no windows, and I'll feel, and if I have a weighing scale, and that's the only thing I have, I would see a measurement of my weight. I'd see my weight there. But you can also think of gravity in another way. Imagine rather than thinking of yourself in on top of the scale, imagine that your this whole room is being accelerated upwards because of some rockets that you have in space with an acceleration that is equal to that of gravity. So
Hmm.
even in that case, when you look at your measurement in the weight, it'll still show the same weight that you are on Earth. And if I close that window, if I close that room and I close all windows, you can't really look outside. You can never make any observation. You can't think of any experiment in which you can be able to tell whether you're in a rocket that is going upwards at the acceleration of the gravity, or if you're being pulled down by gravity. And the reason Einstein comes up with this it looks like a metaphysical kind of a relation, is that from that he will go onwards to let you know that you can think of gravity not as a force, but rather a curvature in the space and time, which wherein all particles unperturbed would like to go in straight lines. Okay, it's just that the straight line for the
Hmm.
International Space Station, which is technically falling, it has no external forces. It just so happens that the straight line has been curved around itself, and therefore you have an orbit. And that
So,
orbit is technically a straight line. It's just that the space time is curved in such a way that that would be a straight line in that space.
yeah.
So, Srinivasan, I think for layman terms, can you explain this straight line? Because I understand you're not, as from what I understand, you're not talking about space straight line in a normal space. You're talking the
On a
straight line or
space-time
the
fabric, on the space fabric, right?
shortest, yeah, shortest distance on that fabric.
That's right. It's technically called a geodesic. Um,
Hmm.
and Right. I am not talking obviously. Obviously, a circle is not a straight line, and I shouldn't be calling it a straight line. I should be calling it a geodesic. But how do we can understand it as this? Okay, a geodesic can be described as the path that an object would take, given that it has no external forces on it, where you don't consider gravity to be a force, as long as you don't have any rockets that you're throwing, you're using Newton's third law and throwing stuff out and accelerating. As long as you don't have any of that, the path that that object will take under the sole influence of gravity, whatever be that path, is by definition a geodesic. And that path, when can be thought of as the object, so the object can be thought of as traveling along that path given some initial conditions like initial velocities. And the effect of gravity is to basically change the direction of that path. So if you add a very heavy object there, that path could initially, if you had no mass, the path would be a straight line. That's why I call it a straight line. Because without anything in space, if you start going in one direction, you're just going to keep going in that direction. You don't need any rockets. You're not going to decelerate. You're going to keep going there. But if you introduce like a star, you're going to start gravitating towards the star.
Yeah.
The reason we call it gravitating towards the star is because of gravity, which Einstein says, don't think of it as a force, but think of it as that very straight line being curved.
Yeah.
So that straight line is a curved line.
If I understand you correctly and I put it in very simple terms, let's say we have a normal sheet of cloth, okay, and I just push a marble from one end to the other end. Let's say there is no external force. Let's remove every wind and everything. It will go in a straight line. But let's say we had a big ball on one side, kept on that sheet of cloth. Now, if we push a marble in a straight line, it may happen that that ball sucks the dent which we created on that sheet of cloth. It sucks in that marble.
Absolutely.
And it starts revolving around that.
Absolutely.
To put it, but this is how people explain the space-time fabric, but it's not in 2D. So I think it's very simple. It's in 4D.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah. So yeah, fascinating. And Einstein, it still blows my mind how a human mind can think. Like something like this is happening in the universe.
That's ridiculous. And the fact that it was proven while he was alive is, I think he was alive then.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
They proved it using, I think, perturbation in Mercury's orbit.
Oh, that too. That is also there, but I think that came later, if I'm not wrong, or it was there in his time. I'm talking about. I think it's called the Davison-Shermer, where they look at the stars. They look at basically
solar eclipse.
Yeah.
And without the solar eclipse, without the sun.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Einstein was there for that, but that was the most visual way to understand that Einstein was right.
But was he? What I have read, if you know about this, there was a rivalry between Einstein and Niels Bohr during this time. Quantum physics, when quantum mechanics actually came into being. So, do we agree that Einstein was right with general theory of relativity, or we have are there some question marks raised, or is it correct?
I'm on team general relativity, so you should also ask team quantum mechanics. Is quantum mechanics, and people have really, so general theory is about the cosmos and very large scale, so it's very hard to create a lab experiment for them. So you can't do a lot of experiments. You have to keep observing, and you can have all these observational errors. So it's kind of tough to do a lot of experiments on general theory. But quantum mechanics is something that you can do in a lab. We have a CERN detector for that. So quantum mechanics has been notorious for having proven itself right all the time. It has never once. So it's actually the most well-tested theory that we've ever made, which is sad because I find it really tough to understand. And understand is the general theory. But general theory, it has a singularity, and that is just exasperating for me. Like it's not true. It's obviously not true. I feel like
so like
I don't think we have an experiment yet that disproves. No, certainly we don't have an experiment that disproves either of the three theories. But they definitely don't agree with each other. So you can look at the horizon of a black hole and or the singularity. For example, quantum mechanics will not allow you to have an infinite density of a singularity. But general theory says, why not? And I don't know if quantum mechanics allows it or not, but it doesn't really like it. So you have a lot of mismatch between the two theories.
Yes.
They always fight against each other. We're not able to figure out which is true, but it's probably going to be a theory that's similar to quantum mechanics. That's right.
A unified theory. We are still in search for the unified theory, I guess.
Yeah, we're getting. Yeah, the people who do
Interesting.
that are just amazing. I don't know. They don't even see. They don't see anything. They just work with matrices. It's insane how they do that. You have
Oh,
string theory. These things. These are all that.
yeah, string theory and all that. Wow.